Welcome to Legacy and Leadership with David McKean. In my 20 plus years in the business world, I have noticed a common theme amongst all my clients. They're phenomenal leaders who are concerned about leaving a legacy in three main areas: community, family, and financially. Join me as we talk to proven leaders in their field about their specific ideas behind legacy and leadership. Welcome to Legacy and Leadership with David McKean. It is my honor today to be sitting here with former Congressman Bradley Byrne. Former Congressman Byrne has held numerous political offices throughout his career, his most prominent time being a U.S. Representative for Alabama's 1st Congressional District from 2014 to 2021. Bradley currently serves as CEO and President of the Mobile, Alabama Chamber of Commerce, and he recently passed his 3rd anniversary for holding that role. So thank you and welcome, Bradley, to Legacy and Leadership. We're glad you're here.
David, I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. In today's world, in particular politically, it seems that there's such a polarization. And you mentioned when talking about your time at the school board that you were coming up, I forget the exact word, up against entrenchments, right? And to many people, that is paralyzing. It is what keeps them from stepping out of the boat and trying something different. Can you maybe share more insight of how you were able to slay that dragon / take the first steps coming up against that opposition as entrenched as it was?
It's pretty entrenched. So there's an organization in Alabama called the Alabama Education Association. It's the Alabama affiliate of the National Education Association, which is a large national teachers union. And they looked at themselves at that time. I'm not saying they're like this now, but at that time, that they were there simply to protect teachers. They weren't there to help children grow. They were there to protect teachers. And so we were constantly battling with them because they were okay with the status quo. They're okay with low graduation rates, low academic attainment, as long as their teachers were paid well and got good benefits. That's all they cared about. Well, a lot of what we had to do was to push back against that. Say, no, This is not about the adults. This is about the children. If you want your children to perform at a high level, you have to have high expectations for them.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You do that for your children, right?
Absolutely.
If they come home with a bad report card, you don't say, "Oh, that's okay."
Right.
No.
Right.
So we had to go push back against the AEA and say, "No, we're going to raise these standards." And even though they would fight us along the way, every now and then you could see they'd say, "No, that we do need to support that."
Wow.
So that's part of changing the cultures, to get everybody, including an entrenched interest, to understand this is where we're trying to go, and this is good for everybody.
Right.
I'll give you one example. So we had a terrible problem, and it manifested itself at a school here in Mobile, because we had a terrible problem in that Alabama back then in the 90s did not do criminal background checks on teachers.
Wow.
People that we leave in classrooms with children. I mean, this is serious.
Sure.
We had an assistant principal at a school in Mobile who turned out to have come from Florida, where he had a child sex conviction.
Wow.
And we had him as assistant principal here in Mobile County. He was also working with Boy Scout troop. That helped push that issue to the forefront. And a state senator from here in Mobile, Vivian Figures, became a real champion for that issue. And so we changed that law. And the AEA fought us every step of the way. But I think they realized after it was all said and done, but now we can say to everybody in the world, our members, the teachers in Alabama, these are good people because we checked them out. These are not just somebody we pulled off the street and don't know anything about. So that was a key moment. But here's the last thing I'll say about that. You don't overtake an entrenched interest in one day. You got to do it over and over and over and over again, and you can't get discouraged. You have to understand, here's the goal. Even if you get a bump here, a bump there, you keep focused on the goal and driving to that goal.
Sure. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. Is there one principle in leadership that you can think of that that is always true no matter the circumstance?
Integrity.
Integrity.
If you're honest with yourself and with other people, you got to start with being honest with yourself.
Right.
And if people understand, whether I agree with him or not, he's telling me what he honestly believes is the truth, then there's a lot of room for people to figure out a way to come together. I had many friends in Congress who were Democrats, many friends who were Congress who were Democrats, who I know disagreed with me.
Sure.
But I think that they always understood that I was doing what I thought was right, that I was always going to be honest with them. I wasn't going to play a game with them.
Sure.
And they treated me the same in return. And I took the same view. You honestly believe what you believe. It's different from what I believe.
Right.
There's got to be a way for two people who are coming at it from a proper motive to work together to get to the same place.
Yeah, that's beautiful and desperately needed in today's society.
It is. It's also, I'm going back to this, that's what Jesus did.
Sure.
He was honest with himself and with other people. He didn't play games.
Sure.
He respected people,
right,
whoever they were, wherever they came from.
Right.
But he spoke the truth, and he had a powerful effect on people. And you see it in the various gospel stories, how incredibly impactful he would be with even just a single individual. And now that we have those stories, we can incorporate that style of leadership into our own lives.
Absolutely.
To a great extent, what I'm talking about is just following what we taught in Sunday school.
Absolutely. Very simple yet difficult at times to carry out.
Very difficult at times.
Sure.
No one ever said it's easy. I had one time in Congress, I won't go into the details, but there was a person that I was having an issue with on an issue. And then all of a sudden it just clicked. And I can't explain to you how it clicked. And she and I became not just colleagues and people working together, but friends. I mean,
Really?
personal friends.
Really?
And she tells the story better than I do. She's a very liberal Democrat from California. I'm a conservative Republican from Alabama.
Sure.
And she said, you can't find two people who politically are more different, nor can you find two people who like one another more and are willing to work together to make things happen.
Sure. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Cool.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts on legacy. What does that word legacy mean to you?
You know, I've never thought about legacy in regard to me, but I look at other people and I see their legacy, what they leave behind, what an incredible legacy the Bush family has had on the United States of America. I didn't know Daddy Bush, but I certainly have gotten to know over the years W. And I just have such high regard for that family. And if you look over the last 30 years, what that family has done for this country in so many different ways, I just think it's an amazing thing that they've done that together as a family. Probably the most moving worship experience I've ever had was at Daddy Bush's funeral at the National Cathedral. It was everything about it, the prayers, the different remarks that people made, the music, all very intentional. And you could tell that came from the very strong faith that George H.W. Bush had, and it just showed itself throughout the entire service. And I was sitting there in the National Cathedral thinking, you know, that's what was at the core of this man, at the core of his family. Sure. And they've left this legacy across multiple generations. And I can't aspire to that and don't aspire to that. But when I see people like that and I see what they've done, I said, that's somebody who gave an entire life to that concept, to who they were, and look what they've accomplished. Look what they've given to people. That's a real legacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, you asked me that. I don't know. I've never thought of it that way. Yeah. And to some extent, as a father, you probably have the same feeling. My legacy is my children.
Sure.
And grandchildren. Now we have grandchildren. And so I would think that would be the number one thing in my legacy. From my professional political life, I just hope people will say, well, he had these various roles. He did them with integrity, and he pushed the ball forward a little bit, at least in each one.
Absolutely. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So, what nuggets can you give our viewers today that have proven successful for you as it relates to legacy or leadership?
Well, the biggest nugget is when you get knocked down, get back up again. It's real easy to get discouraged.
Sure.
It's real easy to say, woe is me, I've been
Sure.
knocked on the ground. Or woe is me, I thought I was going in this direction and I'm not. I mean, I lost 2 major statewide races, and it was hard to get up off the ground. But
Right.
I'm glad I did,
Right.
because God had other plans for me, and I need to get about doing them, not sit there and wallow in self-doubt and all that. Get up, brush yourself off, and keep going. It's the people that have that tenacity
Sure.
tend to succeed.
Sure.
May not be in the exact way they thought they were going to succeed.
Right. Right.
Right. Who was it? Someone said one time, you walk around life and all of a sudden God says, ha, ha.
Sure.
That's not where he wants me to be. You
Right.
just have to stick with it.
Right.
And I know our culture doesn't teach you that. Our culture tells you, you don't have immediate success, you're a failure. That's just not
Right.
true.
Right. Could not agree more.
People need to be a little made of sterner stuff.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. So very practically, you mentioned tenacity. How have you been able to develop that through the years? Do you feel like it was God given to you from the beginning, or was it an idea that you helped perpetuate within yourself, or
Some of both.
Mhm.
I mean, God has to give you everything,
Sure.
but you have to take what he gives you and do something with it.
Sure.
And so I guess I developed at a relatively young age, in my early 20s, the understanding that, okay, you still can do this.
Sure.
It may not have worked out exactly the way you wanted it to,
Right.
but stay at it. And my first year in law school, I was lost. I mean, it was so much stuff coming at me. And I'd graduated from a fine university, so it wasn't like I haven't been challenged in a
Sure.
high academic environment, but it was also new to me. And then I finally kind of settled myself down and said, no. You can do this. Go back and try that again.
Yeah.
And I developed my own study style, and I realized it may take me longer than other people to do things, but if
Sure.
I'll stick with it,
Sure.
I'll get it.
Sure.
It may take me
Absolutely.
twice as long as ordinary people, but ultimately I'll get it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A little bit of hard-headedness.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's great.
I had a great law school professor that taught a course called commercial transactions. There was one particular concept called a floating lien. I won't bore you with it, but I just couldn't get it.
Right.
And so I went up to him after class, and he got to be a dear friend. And he said, "You're not getting it, are you?" I said, "No, sir, I'm trying, but I'm not getting it." And so he says, "All right, let's go through this. I'm going to give you some extra examples for you to
Sure.
sit down and come back and see me after class tomorrow, and we'll talk about it." And I think I stayed up all night. I
Wow.
was so determined. I am
Yeah.
going to solve this. And
Yeah.
went back to him. He said, "You got it." And he said, "How late were you up last night?" I said, "I don't think I slept." But it's
Yeah.
that tenacity where, okay, there was something wrong with my brain. It just wasn't grasping that. But I stuck with it, and he stuck with me, another mentor.
Right.
And as a result of that, I got it.
That's fantastic.
And that's been true about a lot of things in my life. Just have to keep going at it till you got it. Say, no, I got that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I am super grateful for the time that you have spent with us here today, and you have just shared a wealth of information and knowledge and experience, and for that I'm grateful. So thank you for joining us for this episode of Legacy and Leadership with David McKean. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Legacy and Leadership with David McKean, and you're able to take away proven tactics that you can implement in your day-to-day life regarding legacy and leadership. If you have questions or ideas for future shows, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me at 251-648-6461, or you can email me at legacyandleadershipgoal@gmail.com. Thanks so much for joining us.